All right. It's story time today, and I want to share with you a story of a circumstance that befell someone I met uh, 5 days ago. Yeah, 5 days ago. This lady found herself in a predicament that most of us can only describe as supernatural or demonic, depending on what you or how you perceive it. This lady, let's give her name, and by the way, I'm doing this video with her consent. Let's give her name. Let's call her Jen. All right. So Jen is a civil servant. She works in a government office in town, one of these major parastatals in Nairobi town. And Jen is a third born in her family. I can't remember the details of the other siblings, but Jen is a born 89, 90, yeah, thereabout. And so Jen told me the other day that she was in the office the beginning of this year, and just when offices were reopening from the Christmas holidays, I think a week or so after reporting to work, Jen reports to her desk. She shares an office with one other lady. Let's call her Lady X. Yeah. So Jen and Lady X work for the government, and they share an office. Now, one day, early this year, Jen is in office. She's in the office, and she hears a knock. There's what we call the official knock. When you're walking into a public office, there's usually how you knock. You knock twice, and then you open the door. Public office, I mean an office that you share with other people. You knock twice and open the door and get in and do your business. And so Jen hears a knock on the door, and the door is opened, and walking into the office is an old lady, a lady who looked like she was in her 80s, thereabout. And to her knowledge, that was not, her office is not an office that deals directly with clients. And so she was not by any way expecting a visitor. And so for her, she thought probably the visitor who's walked in had come to see her colleague, Lady X, all right? So Jen is busy on her computer doing her business, and Lady X wonders, okay, Jen, is that your visitor? And she looks at her, is like, no. So they both look at this old lady who had walked in the office, and she was just standing there. So they are waiting to hear what she wanted to inquire, and probably they thought probably they would direct her to the right office. And so after like 10 seconds of staring at each other, Jen decides to speak. And she asks this lady in a very respectful way, in Kiswahili, mami, tukusaidia namna gani? And this lady calls Jen with her 3 names. You know, how somebody calls you with your 3 names. And actually, all of us probably in the office, that last name, nobody knows that last name unless it's the HR who has your documents and probably somebody from your home area, all right? And this old lady calls Jen by her 3 names. And Jen is perplexed. She's wondering, okay, who are you and how do you know me by those names? And as she's doing that, because she was working, her computer mysteriously starts blinking. It starts running lines up and down, causing chaos. And Jen is shocked, all right? She's shocked and wondering, okay, what's going on? She puts her computer on pause and looks at this lady and asks her, what can I do for you, Shosho, now that you know my 3 names? And this lady calls her and tells her kwa Kiswahili, mimi ni shosho yako. I'm your grandmother, all right? Hey, remember, Jen knows her grandmother died in 1982. This lady, Jen was born in 1989. So this lady saying she's Jen's grandmother, Jen is shocked. She's perplexed, actually. And she's wondering, okay, you are my grandmother from which side? Dad's side or mommy's side? And this old lady calls out the name of Jen's father. Now, Jen's father apparently also died somewhere early 2000 there. So she was shocked. Jen was shocked. She couldn't understand how grandmother who died has all of a sudden appeared. And she's here, all right? And Jen says to this old lady, because now she's shaken, and she says, if it is you, how come you're alive? You died before I was born. I never knew you. I never even saw you. And so at that point, this lady confesses, yes, I have come back to take you. Take you. Now, this other lady, Madam X, is seated on her desk and she starts shivering. She's shocked, all right? She wants to run away from the office, but remember, this lady is standing by the door, which now is closed behind her. And so Lady X wants to run away, but she cannot, because where do I pass? All right? From no point, Lady X faints. She chews blackout. All right? So while that is happening, now this lady starts talking to Jen and telling her how she has come from the land of the dead and she has come to pick her and make her the priestess of the family altar. All right. She apparently was a mganga. I don't know, a medicine woman. I don't know how that plays out. But apparently there was a shrine and this lady was the priestess of that shrine and she died in 1982. So Jen is wondering, how come you're picking on me? And at first she thinks it's a dream, but she realizes, no, I'm not dreaming. And reality sinks in, all right? When reality sinks in, the weight of what had happened sinks in, and Jen apparently gets into a trance, she gets into a hysterical mode. She can no longer comprehend what is going on. So what I'm going to tell you next happened during that trance, because Jen doesn't remember those things happening, but Lady X or Madam X is now the one who tells Jen what she had done, all right? Or what she did. So In this trance, quote unquote, Jen apparently lifted up her dress, and on her waist she had beads. I don't know why they're beads. Apparently, women put beads on their waists for whatever reason. I don't know. So Jen removes those beads and throws them in the dustbin. Now, these things are happening. She is subconsciously doing these things. She doesn't even know that she's doing it. So Lady X has now woken up from the shock and is observing what is going on. All right. And so Jen is doing things that nobody understands, speaking in languages, tongues that nobody can even understand or comprehend. So after that, Jen, after all those things, removing that bead and throwing in the dustbin, Jen wakes up from her desk, leaves everything on her desk, and she starts walking out. Now she walks out, goes to the reception area, walks through the door, and everybody at the reception area, including the policemen who usually guard the government offices, let her through because, I mean, for them, she's seeing off a visitor, all right? So she walks out and never to be seen again in that office. First week, second week, third week, Jen is not coming to the office. And so people start asking, what happened? And everybody else remembers she walked out of this office with an old lady, all right? And so they go back to that date and checks the signing in of this lady who apparently, you know how you walk into a government office, there are policemen at the door, they check you, they frisk you, then you have to leave your ID, you have to write your name on some book, it's registered, then you go in, do whatever business you have, then you walk out. When you walk out, you collect your ID. So being at this point, when they go check those documents, they realize this lady wrote a name that is not even, it cannot be read. She kind of wrote things that look like Russian inscriptions, you know. And one of the ladies who apparently recorded her entry that day says she looked at that ID and she could tell it was not a normal ID. It didn't look like a normal national identity card, all right? And so, but since it was an old lady, she didn't have questions because, I mean, who would doubt an 80-year-old looking lady walking into an office, probably coming to see her daughter, you know? So they didn't take too much concern about it. So they go back and check and realize nothing is happening. So 2-3 weeks from work in a government office, of course, you lose your job, all right? So you're declared absent without leave. Measures will take place. So Jen is at home, all right? She has gone back to Kambani. She has bought land. This lady now tells Jen, this old lady, tells Jen to go to her grave where she was buried. She will get money in Aguad, all right? Yes, in Aguad. She should take that money, go to an area, huko kwao, and go buy land. Now, Jen, because now she looks like she's possessed, she's not operating on her own, goes to the grave of that lady, where she was buried somewhere, probably backyard or something, goes and finds a gourd, opens that gourd, and finds money to a tune of around 100K, new notes, new generation notes. She goes, the story continues. And before we do that, please enda pale chini, finya hiyo like button, finya hiyo subscribe, share hii video, watu to have fun pamoja. Sawa. All right. So Jen goes and to where she had been directed by this Shosh now to go and buy land. She goes to that specific area and actually finds men fencing that land. Men at work, wanaweka ua kabisa, wana fence. And she asks them if that is the land she was supposed to be buying. And they tell her, yes, they have been ordered by now the owner of the land, who Jane is to buy land from, to fence that portion. And they call the owner, they do the transactions, stuff inaisha hivyo. Okay, let's take a break. Okay, so sorry for the interruption. Jen does the transaction, pays that money, and apparently she had been ordered to build 3, 4, 5 huts. One for the wazee, another one for now the place where those uganga things will be taking place. Then another hut where now she'll be sleeping. So it's a home with three huts, nyasi juu na matope kando kando. And so Jen's experience, she says she is now a mganga on her own volition, right? She became a mganga bila kutaka. And she says she has immense power. She's healing people. I'm not advertising for her, by the way. I'm not even giving her location, giving you her location. But she consented to this because she consented to this story. She allowed us to talk about it. How did I get to know this? I was not told. I met Jen. She had come for prayers. She had come for deliverance prayers, okay? But that's a story for another day. Whatever happened during that time, the deliverance prayer time, whatever happened is a story for another day. Na nitawapigia hapa. I tell you, pastors who do deliverance go through a lot. I will tell you what happened on that deliverance. And so keep it tuned, keep it locked. As usual, Willie's Insights. Peace out.